Welcome back to the Tears of Fire podcast, a podcast where I go over the Last Dragon Chronicles by Chris DeLacy, and today we'll be going over chapters 53 through 58 of Firestar. Thanks for joining me. I hope you had a safe flight in and hit no turbulence. With that, let's get into the episode. We pick back up in the middle of a big commotion when all the monks are flying around in the middle of the night because one of the brothers had been injured by Grockle. As monks are flying down the hall, Brother Bernard is trying to stop one and is able to talk to Brother Sebastian. He says that Brother Cedric is on his way and he's the healer. He wants to take a look at Brother Terence, who had been blinded by Grockle with some type of attack. They're not really saying what's going on at this point. After some more conversations with Brother Sebastian, Bernard learns that Grockle spat on him, and so I'm wondering if his spit is some kind of acid now, and that's what's supposed to ignite the fire once he's able to, or if he's ever able to obtain that. So he's just merely, I would think, defending himself. Maybe this Brother Terence provoked him in some way. We don't know quite yet. But after this quick conversation, Brother Bernard decides that he needs to go take a look at Grockle and see what's going on. When he gets there, he's greeted by Abbot Hugo and Brother Bernard, who are both watching over the dragon. They're trying to form some plan in order to keep the dragon more under control, even though they already have him chained up. They're trying to put something over his head so he can no longer attack other brothers or other monks. As Brother Bernard is speaking with Malcolm and Abbot Hugo, he can see more malice in Brother Malcolm's eyes than he ever detected from Grockle itself. So this is kind of begging the question on if humans are more evil than God and what God's intentions are. Because later on in this episode and in the chapters, we're going to get kind of that the Fain do believe that Goddess herself was the image that created the heavens and the earth. Brother Bernard tries to speak with Abbot Hugo and explain to him that this is one of God's creations, and how we're treating the animal goes against anything that they believe or have practiced until now. Abbot Hugo's not turned by this whatsoever, and he says that he still plans on taking care of the beast, but they're waiting for an emissary that's coming from the mainland. Hugo is trying to make a plan where he's finding a piece of wood big enough to shield them and a burlap sack to slide over Grockle's head. Brother Bernard is watching the other monk, Brother Malcolm, gather all of the materials requested, and after seeing the brutality in his eyes, he decides to do it alone. He thinks that since he can somewhat communicate with the dragon and even maybe calm him a bit, speaking in the older tongue, that it might be better for him to do this than a whole gang, just scaring the dragon again. With Brother Malcolm and Abbot Hugo watching, he's slow. He takes just the burlap sack. He doesn't take the piece of wood or anything. And he's talking in that growly expression, trying to match the dragon's tone in the old northern accent that he found worked with him the first time. And he just tells him, don't resist, don't fight. They're trying to kill you. As he's getting closer to it, he makes one swift move and hops over, puts the bag over Grockle's head. But before this happened, he tried to ask a question. Why did you attack Brother Terence? What happened? And the dragon is just crying out, saying, bird. And as he was making this move, or as Bernard was making the move to put the burlap sack over Grockle's head, he could see the raven up in the cave as well. Kind of spooked him a little bit. And now I'm questioning it because we had the chapter not too long ago where the Fain had invaded Guilana's mind. blocking her in bird form and in an ice block. So I didn't think that this could be the same Guilana. This brings up, is this then Lucy? Or not Lucy, is this then Xana? And if not Xana, I don't have any idea who it could be that's still watching him through a raven. But as Grockle's head is being covered, he's starting to cry out. Obviously, he doesn't have fire and he's chained up, so he can't fight too much back. And as he's breathing out, the bag kind of starts slipping off his head, but is caught by his sharp scales and ends up staying. As he's thrashing about, and Brother Bernard is walking away, dismissed by Abbot Hugo, saying that his services are no longer needed, he can just hear Grockle crying out in the background, asking for Xana, which is pretty disturbing. I mean, in the last book, the theory was this could be a male child, and it would, up until this point, all of Liz's eggs that could have hatched, or yeah, not all of, because she only had the Lucy, but most of the eggs from Guinevere's line that have ended up hatching lose their dragon features and become women. And so they weren't sure if this Grockle, being a boy, was going to be a full dragon or if it was going to be the same and Lucy would just have a little brother. But this child, essentially, is calling out for Xana, being tortured and treated as if he's just scum of the earth, and he hasn't really done anything. I mean, it's scary, yeah, but he himself hasn't killed any of the animals on the island. Everything that he's eaten has been brought to him by the monks. So this dragon hasn't really displayed any animosity towards these people besides Brother Terence, which we weren't here for to see exactly what happened. We just knew that the dragon reared up and spat on him a little bit. During that chapter, too, it was really bringing up just how these monks were feeling towards the dragon. Obviously, Brother Malcolm was more than happy and even offered to kill Grockle, but Abbot Hugo stopped him, saying that they were going to need him for the emissary and that they can't make that decision just yet. But just a complete disdain coming from Brother Malcolm, and then Abbot Hugo having no questions or caring about its treatment, really started pushing Brother Bernard in the opposite way. But so that brings us to the end of that chapter and into chapter 54. Point Scarrow, Canadian High Arctic. We start off with a couple guys driving on an icy road in an old rusty truck, and it comes out to be Russell and Bergstrom. As they're coming down this dark road with a little bit of a storm going, it's nothing crazy, something they can drive through on a Tuesday, but it's still snowing. There's a polar bear out in the middle of the road. Now, being Bergstrom, I thought maybe these bears were going to be coming here to call him into action and he would somehow get away from Russell. But that's not really what we see. As we get them interacting, Bergstrom comes to a complete stop, turns off his truck, and radios over to the research center, saying that he's got a bear in the middle of the road and that the team needs to be on standby and to bring the cage. There's some words back and forth, but Bergstrom does say, just bring the cage. He gets out to go speak with the bear. As he's moving up closer and closer, the bear does not move, but his gaze gets a little bit more intense on Bergstrom. The bear's looking at himself, at the paws, feeling the blood flow and the muscles tense, and it says it's powerful, dull but powerful. We find out that a Fain is the one that is controlling this bear at this point. He wants to talk to Bergstrom and question him. Bergstrom is absolutely mystified at this point, and he asks the Fain how he got through early. This Fain says that it's actually chasing a younger Fain that broke the barrier not too long ago. We instantly know that that's the Fain that came into contact with Grith, and Bergstrom spent some time with Grith working with him, so he knows a little bit of this. Bergstrom has more questions about it, and he says what's the purpose for this Fain and what's going to happen to him once he's caught. And the older Fain explains that they're here to corral him, take him back, and punish him, and they would not like to see the image of Goddeth return to Earth or to the Fain realm. Bergstrom is just mystified by that, And that really got me too. I had to take a second to put the book down and think, because this young Fain is all about dragons coming back. Obviously, he's helping Graith answer David's questions from quite a while ago in book 2, but these older generations, what I'm going to just call the, Council of Elders, they don't want Goddeth to come back. Maybe they have a system that's been in play for a long time now that's been working, and they don't want to give power back and how it used to be. And this kid has been growing up on the tales of old and how they used to live and just wants to see it return. It's a little bit of differing beliefs we get through just 2 characters not knowing that realm at all. It was pretty good. We're being shown this through conversations, not even to each other. We haven't even had an interaction of the older Fain and younger Fain. And even if they did, would we be able to get to see that perspective and that point of view? Up until now, we've only seen points of view from David, Xana, Bergstrom, Lucy, these people that, they do have magical qualities to them, but are human more than less, right? And so to get a point of view from the Fain, I don't know if we're just not supposed to, or we're just supposed to give our best guess. It'd be interesting. But during this conversation, Bergstrom decides to lunge at the bear. He tells Russell to go get the gun, and as Russell is doing so, when his back is turned and there's a heavy snow falling, Bergstrom lunges and transforms into a bear. The Fain is a lot quicker, and with the powerful bear's body, just destroys Bergstrom, makes it quick. It says that when Russell comes back, there's only one bear, and he's laying in the middle of the road, cut up and almost filleted open. And Russell's taking a look at this bear, who is, we know to be Bergstrom now, and I don't know, is it you have to control your powers the full time to continue to be a bear, or does he make that switch consciously, or maybe that's one and the same? I'm not sure. I would just think being knocked out, if you had to focus on it, you would lose your bear form, unless you have to do something specific to change forms, and then he's just stuck as a bear. But it says that Russell walks up, and if he had seen another bear in this condition, the best thing to do would actually be put it out of its misery. He points the gun to its head and is ready to take a shot, but something in his gut told him not to, and he's questioning himself, asking if they might be able to answer more questions with the bear alive than with it dead. So he waits for the team to show up with the cage and just tranquilizes the bear. Towards the end of that chapter, what we get is the talisman that was with Bergstrom wiggled its way out from under him, and its main mission was always that if there was an emergency, he was to return to dragon form and seek out David Rain. And so we leave off with that chapter, with Groin just going off into the world. Another thing I actually left out of that chapter was that the Fain is finding these people solely through the trail of Gawain's fire tier. So the fact that it can be so faint and he can find these guys, because he felt that Bergstrom had been in contact with the little Fain and the fire tier itself, saying that he had reeked of a strong aura, but not of a powerful enemy. But yeah, okay. So that brings us into chapter 55, Abbot Hugo's Office, Farlow Island, 1:35 a.m., February 12th. Long chapter title. This chapter starts off with a memory. We get a little flashback to where Brother Bernard has his first experience with guilt. It says when he was 12 years old, he was at a gas station and he stole some candy. He bumped into somebody who was blind, knocking them down, causing a big commotion, but instead he felt so guilty that he ran away. He didn't even get to enjoy the candy because he wanted to dump the evidence as soon as possible. So he dumped the candy down a storm drain and threw away the garbage. This memory is playing through his mind almost on repeat as Brother Bernard spends his time praying and meditating, trying to find the next step. Brother Bernard decides that he'd like to speak to Arthur. He has to sneak around, go to Abbot Hugo's office, and find the keys. Brother Bernard turns seconds into minutes by fumbling around looking for the correct keys, marked with an orange tag, to go speak with Brother Vincent. He wasn't sure if he was going to release him or only speak to him to get more clarity on where the boundaries lie. During this time, he sees a squirrel, obviously it's Snigger, pop out and start looking around for something as well. He seems to be almost guided at this point because he hops right onto Abbot Hugo's desk and pops out the drawer that has the dragon claw in it, takes the claw within his mouth, and start running away. At this point, Brother Bernard had found the keys and was trying to make his way out, but once he saw this happen with the squirrels, he was trying to stop him. And in the commotion, his shin bumped into a bench, and in a domino effect, he released a bunch of cologne bottles, shattering on the floor, and Brother Hugo and Brother Malcolm come to inspect what's going on. Brother Hugo has a conversation with Bernard, asking if he's been led astray the same way that Brother Vincent has. Brother Bernard tries to convince Hugo that there is nothing wrong with the dragon, and he's probably closer to God than we are. Brother Hugo asks Bernard to give him the keys and return what he stole, and Brother Bernard is persistent on the fact that a squirrel took the claw, not him. He was not sent to a cell himself, but sent to his room, so I'm unclear as to what happened to Brother Bernard, if he's kind of on house arrest, or if he's free to walk. But it says that during that time, Snigger was hopping down to the cave, and he delivers the claw to Grockle. He was quick and nimble, making sure not to touch the dragon, but dropped the claw near his foot. Grockle sensed it, since his head was covered and could not see anything, but he could smell greatness and power and history through it. I'm not sure if he had a missing claw, if something happened on his travels, or if the claw simply overtook it, but it says just like Ingvar did with Ragnar's tooth, in it making a part of its jaw, that this claw then made itself a part of Grockle as well. During all of the commotion as well, Abbot Hugo asked, I believe it was Brother Sebastian, to go check on Vincent and make sure that he was still in his cell. When he returned, Sebastian said that he was still there, but in a sort of trance. He's just in his cross-legged stance, praying and meditating, but he could not be broken of it. And this made me wonder if he was now manipulating black matter through just meditating. He no longer needs the claw. Maybe he spent enough time in contact with it that maybe some of its abilities has seeped into him, and now he no longer needs a medium in order for him to access the power. I'm not sure how much sense that would make just yet, since he's only been writing for, I would assume, a couple of weeks. But that's where that chapter ends off, and we're going to get into chapter 56, Wayward Crescent, late night, February 12th. Liz is dealing with the calm of the storm at her house. There's not so much as anything on the TV, the radio. It says that Liz used to enjoy an occasional magazine, but the fresh ones that have been delivered have gone unread. And out of nowhere, there seems to be just a vibrant, huge energy shifting through the house. Gruffin is the first one to feel it, and he comes over to Liz, and Liz is made aware of the fact that it's starting to hum and hone in on the dragon's den. Gruffin has a cool defense measure kind of built into him, to where he's able to grow to 3 times his size, and they're about 10 inches, so that's like a 3-foot freaking clay dragon that's about to come out and destroy you. Whether it's clay or not, clay can be sharp and it's going to cut you. So if he gets you with the claws or with the teeth, or even if he's still able to make fire, that'd be pretty intimidating for anything. What it comes out to be, though, is a little bit intimidating for Liz. It's the older Fain chasing the younger Fain. He was able to locate him and bring him here. There's a chase all throughout the house, and when the older Fain comes into contact with Gruffin, he senses the spark, we can call it, the spark of Gawain within Gruffin, and he takes it instantly, recognizing the dragon's power. Even though it's frail, Gruffin turns into a solid statue, tumbles, saying that he breaks his tail into half. And looking back on that now, I'm not sure if Gruffin shrank down back to normal size or if he stayed that 30 inches that he would be. But either way, it's tough to see a dragon go out like that. But they were able to. The older Fain was able to chase the younger one into Bonington, the only living host that it could find. And they did mention that Bonington's Oma was starting to slowly fade, and that this animal didn't have too much time left. But through some power or magic that the Fain have, the older Fain was able to lock the younger Fain inside of Bonington, letting him roam free. He wanted to investigate Liz because he can sense a lot of power around her. When they came into contact, it was a little bit more scary. Henry came banging on the door saying that he heard some noises and there might be some danger. He's asking Miss P to open the door, and in an instant he goes completely silent. Liz is pretty freaked out by this, so she goes to check on him and she opens the door. As she does that, Henry Bacon, who is now controlled by the Fain, grabs Liz by her throat and pushes her up against the wall. The Fain is asking her where Gawain's tear is. Liz directs him to the freezer where some of it is, but says that she has no clue where the rest is. The Fain is not satisfied with this and says that the creations that she has is interfering with their plans. That these creatures are acting upon a master's request, and he'd like to speak with him. From behind them in this interaction, Gretel tells the Fain that she knows where David is, and that she could take him. The Fain is interested in this, and just leaves Liz collapsed down on the floor. And luckily, before all this had gone on, Liz gave the order to the other house dragons to go ahead and shut down for now. They don't need to be using their powers because maybe they'd be discovered. And I would think that if the Fain could get into Gruffin's mind and sense the fire, he would be able to do that to them all. But I guess maybe going into clay form just locks their brain. I don't know. I would like to talk to Chris about that one and see what he has to say. And that's where that chapter is going to end. Usually that would be the end right there because we were only doing 4 chapters, but these next 2 are pretty short, and then it works out for next week's episode to be 6 chapters as well to end the book. And then in 2 weeks, I'll hopefully have my guest on. She's already agreed. We're going to be reviewing book 3 and bridging into book 4. It'll be my returning guest. And awesome news, I've got some other people who were willing to try this thing out, and box sets were given, and it's just a matter of time. So wait for some new perspective. But yeah, so let's get into chapters 57 and 58 as well, since they're both very short. 57, Dunlugan, Scotland, February 13th. This chapter is 2 pages long, but it just follows the Fain, who is still controlling Henry and traveling with Gretel. They're going to Farlow Island, obviously, since they know where David's heading. And the Fain is just fascinated by people. It's never been on a train. It's inspecting it, what's going on around it, the noises, how it feels. Can almost know mathematically the weight of everything. It's looking at Henry's body as a weird, fleshy trap almost. It questions why humans still deal with this kind of frequency and vibrations instead of just mentally moving through matter, so to speak. It looks at humans a little bit in disdain, but a little bit of fascination behind it as well. It's also interested to learn how Gretel interacts with the world, how she turns into complete stone and seems to not move to normal people's eyes, but to those who are privy, can see her either slowly move or, if they're like Lucy, move completely. When they get to dock, they meet a monk there that says only certain people can be passed through and that Henry would not be able to go onto the island. So the Fain, hearing this, decides to leave Henry, who is clinging to life after he's examined by the other people that's coming onto the boat with him. They're calling for doctors, and the Fain decides to hop into Brother Darius's mind, ending that chapter. But then slowly brings us into chapter 58, Farlow Island, February 13th. And I think they could have just combined these two, because it's the same character. We're following Brother Darius, who is now being controlled by the Fain. And when he gets onto the other side, onto the island, he's met by Brother Feargall, and he leads Brother Darius around the island, showing him what's going on and asking him questions, because Brother Darius is wearing robes that signify he's supposed to be a little bit higher up in the ranks, but is confused by Brother Darius's answer, because Darius is saying that he's not belonging to any one order. Obviously, this is the Fain controlling him, so maybe the Fain just doesn't know. But it also shows that the Fain doesn't care. He can sense a lot of dragon energy here, and I wasn't sure if he was sensing Grockle or maybe the old ancient dragon that had been there. You know, obviously there had to be some energy left over. But as they're having a conversation, Brother Feargall expresses how they've been seeing lots of powers at work here, and they're very scared. He's asking questions on what the process is going to be, what decisions they're going to have to make, and Darius doesn't really answer any of them. But before anything happens, he sees David the stranger heading towards the cave as well. So it's interesting that they've come right at the same time, and we haven't had a David perspective in ages. You know, and at this point we're deep enough where, since there's only 6 chapters left in the book, I would prefer none of the chapters to do another time lapse where we're going to see what David's couple days lead up to. I kind of want to just get into the fight and maybe have David tell us real quick. But, I mean, there's only been 2 days, I guess, realistically, from the last time we heard from him. But book-wise, I'm ready to get back to David. Anyway, Gretel points him out, saying that's who we need to talk to, and Darius gets a very suspicious-looking smile, I would call it, and he looks over at Brother Feargall and says, "You've witnessed a lot of powers, you will witness another one." And I'm wondering, is this guy here to put an end to Grockle as well? Make sure that there's no possibility of the image of Godeth making it through? Is he there to corrupt Grockle? Maybe take him back and make them bend over to that plan and that will, and with just the overpowering might of a dragon be able to force the rest of their kind to follow him, is what I'm thinking is going to be going on from here on out. But I'm not too positive. So yeah, join me next week. We already had Valentine's Day, but it seems like we're going to be dealing with Valentine's Day and the deadline of the book. Following that, again, will be my guest episode. So thank you guys so much for going on this journey with me. I hope you guys have a safe flight out and hit no turbulence.